The story of Church at Bergen began on October 18th, 2012, when 15 men and women in their 20s met in the living room of an apartment to dream about what it might look like to establish a gospel-centered church in Paramus, which sits at the heart of one of the wealthiest counties in America and also 15 minutes outside of New York City. And in this city, there are 3 major highways that converge together. If the gospel could take root in a city like Paramus, the ripple effects could be exponential. From the beginning, we wanted to be simple. Teach the Bible, preach the gospel, make disciples, and be on mission. In our second year as a church plant, we had grown to about 100 people, but we still couldn't find a permanent place to gather in Paramus. But then, in God's providence, we found an empty warehouse, this one right here, right off of Route 17, and we launched a campaign called the Paramus Project. And within a year, we raised over $350,000 to renovate and move into this place. We opened the doors in May 2016, and we have been here ever since. That was almost 10 years ago. And now, we find ourselves again at another decisive moment in our church's history. God has breathed fresh life, growth, and momentum into Church at Bergen. Our children's ministry alone is as big as the entire church plant in year 1. Our youth ministry is growing alongside it. Parking lots are full. Our Easter services are reaching 500. New families are coming every Sunday. People are being baptized, and the gospel continues to change lives. But the opportunities for ministry continue to exceed our space, our budget, and our staff team. And on top of this, we are still leasing our current space, which continues to pull funds away from the mission. We have reached a ceiling. Not because God's work has slowed down, but because it's outgrown our walls. And because of this, we cannot wait any longer. We must act now. And that's why we're launching a 2-year discipleship and generosity initiative called Generations, It Shall Be Told. Psalm 22, verses 30 through 31 says, "It shall be told of the Lord to the coming generation. They shall come and proclaim his righteousness to a people yet unborn, that he has done it." This is what Generations is all about, preserving and proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ to future generations in Paramus and beyond.
When I heard about the vision for Generations, I'm very excited about what it might mean for our youth ministry and how they might grow. As someone who's very involved here with our youth group and Sunday production team, I would like to encourage those who've heard about our Generations initiative to just be in constant prayer, not to ease off on praying. Don't stop praying.
When I think about Generations, I think about how faithful God has been. I came to Church at Bergen back in 2016 when we were, as some would say, building the plane in the air as we were flying. And so we're still just trying to find our footing at that point. And so I've had a front row seat to watch God move through seasons of growth, seasons of pruning, even through the turbulence of 2020 when so much around us felt uncertain. But through it all, God was rebuilding, not just a church, but a people. He deepened our faith, reawakened our hunger for his word, and reignited our love for one another. Now I see a church alive with hope, families worshiping, small groups multiplying, new believers being baptized and finding community, and children learning to trust Jesus. And yet, I know this is only the beginning. Generations is our invitation to keep building, not for comfort or convenience, but so the gospel can reach those who aren't here yet.
As I think about the Generations initiative, what's the story that you want to tell Jesus when your time here is done? I'd like it to be a story of, I trusted you, I had faith that you were going to see us through and provide for all of our needs, and I waited expectantly for how you were going to demonstrate your own generosity, not just in my life, in the life of your church.
Over the next 2 years, we have 2 goals. First, we are praying for 100% participation from everyone who calls Church at Bergen their home. We are hoping and praying for all of us to take steps of obedience and faith toward laying the initial foundation for future generations to continue the work of the gospel. Our secondary goal is to raise $3.9 million over the next 2 years to fund the vision of Generations. Of that money, $1.8 million will cover 2 years of our church's operating expenses. $200,000 will go towards strengthening our children and youth ministries, and $100,000 will strengthen mission, outreach, and digital media engagement to meet people where they are at. And finally, $1.8 million will help us purchase a permanent gospel home for long-term ministry impact in Paramus and beyond.
Giving has not been always easy. There are times it's challenging to give above and beyond. But we've certainly experienced God just being faithful in that.
You know, if you kind of think just logistically or practically, it may feel daunting to you, but just knowing that we're kind of all in this together and that God can do amazing things through prayer and faith.
Generations isn't about numbers. It's about what God can do through a people fully surrendered to Him. And so here's what we're calling each of you to do. First is to pray. Pray that God would deepen your faith and widen your vision. Ask Him what obedience and sacrifice look like for you in this season of our church. Secondly is participate. Don't stand on the sidelines. Engage with the vision. Attend an event. Serve on a team. Be a part of God's story that He is writing here at this church. And third, proclaim. Share what God is doing. Tell your story. Tell your neighbors. Tell your kids, because this is how the gospel moves from one generation to the next. And as we do this together, we want to invite you to dream about the day when we will all look back and say that He has done it. Imagine that moment, a thriving gospel home filled with families worshiping Jesus, children and students coming to faith, new believers being baptized, the word preached every Sunday in the heart of Bergen County, churches planted, generations changed. That's the story we want to be a part of. And it begins with us laying a strong foundation of gospel impact for future generations. So join us in saying,
Let our ceiling be their floor.
Let our ceiling be their floor.
Let our ceiling be their floor.
let our ceiling be their floor.